Hey you guys, it's Dr. T just hopping on here for a quick minute, just so we can talk about an important topic. As the temperature rises, we know that body odor becomes more of an issue and a concern for many of us. Oftentimes my patients, when they are pregnant, will ask me about natural products just simply as they try to reduce some of the risks to their unborn child. And one of the product lines we oftentimes talk about is deodorants. So let's talk about deodorants for a minute and antiperspirants. So what's the difference between a deodorant and an antiperspirant? Some of you may already know this. For those who don't, a deodorant literally deodorizes. It reduces the odor, whereas antiperspirant is more likely to reduce the amount of sweat. So antiperspirants reduce sweats, and when you sweat, you then cause different types of bacteria to overgrow, which then lead to the odor that we detect. So odor is a little bit complicated. I'm simplifying it a little bit. Body odor and sweat gland activity differs by ethnic groups, gender, hormonal basis, level of activity, sweat gland activity, composition, proteins. It's quite an intensive list. We're not going to talk about the science of it on this particular video. We're going to focus on the product lines. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you travel outside of the US, you will notice that what we consider to be body odor is not considered to be body odor elsewhere. So the volatile organic compounds that we produce that result in the odor that we detect as offensive is not necessarily offensive in other cultures. So part of what we consider to be body odor is really a cultural thing. So here, unless it smells like flowers or fruits or the earth, we consider it to be offensive, and we try to reduce that particular smell. When you are choosing a product, and this is not meant to be a recommendation video, but rather a guideline in making decisions, there are a couple of things that you probably should consider. One thing that you should consider is whether or not you have sensitive skin. So I have sensitive skin, so there are certain things that I look for. Be aware of what you are sensitive to, and also be aware of the chemical name as well as the layman's name, right? So that you're more likely to detect it on a label, regardless of which name it's listed under. The other thing to be aware of is the fact that for women of color, our sensitivity does not result necessarily in a reddening of the skin. Sometimes it will result in hyperpigmentation or thickening of the skin. So when you are trying a different product, making sure that you're not only looking for its efficacy in terms of deodorizing and antiperspirant activity, but also looking at your skin to see how your skin is responding to it, and making sure that you look at your skin in a well-lit environment, because some of the changes may be really subtle. The other thing that you want to consider is whether or not you are someone who's comfortable with natural products. So if natural products is new to you and you're pretty naive to this particular area, you may want to do a little bit more research. There's plenty of information out there. Feel free to message us. We'll be happy to guide you in that decision making. And finally, are you very active? Do you sweat a lot? And if you have a high level of activity, or just naturally sweat a lot, or just naturally sweat particularly in your armpits or axillary area, that you may want to rely more on an antiperspirant, and deodorant may not do the job for you. So keep those things into consideration, right? So let's move along. I'm going to share with you the products that I tried recently and what my experience was with them. Keep in mind, my experience may not be yours, because again, we differ in terms of ethnicity, body composition, level of activity, hormonal levels, distribution and activity of our sweat glands. So there are so many things that affect whether or not we will respond to a product. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, so the first product that I tried was Kopari. So Kopari is a woman-owned brand. So I was really excited to try it. I love supporting other women-owned businesses. This particular product is a coconut oil-based product. So who doesn't like coconut? Coconut is amazing, right? So that was an easy sell for me. And it smells amazing. So it smells great. It worked really well in deodorizing. So I was pretty happy with that aspect of it. However, you guys, I developed a sensitivity to the product, so I had to discontinue it, right? But they have an amazing product line. Check them out. And if you're interested in trying this product, they do have a deodorant specifically. This is not an antiperspirant. It's specifically a deodorant. That is a natural deodorant, right? Okay, so the next product I tried has a humongous product line. Okay, this product line has been on the market before I was even born. So Tom's has been around for a long time, and some of you may already be using some of their products, if not this exact product. So this is their Wild Lavender. It is a deodorant and not an antiperspirant. Okay, it's lavender. So do I really have to tell you? Oh my gosh, I'm melting. It smells amazing. And I smelled really good wearing it. It did not last as long as I wanted it to last, but I smelled really great and it did not irritate my skin. So another product to consider is Tom's. Now they do actually have an antiperspirant. I do want to mention that. They do have an antiperspirant. I am going to try that and I will share with you my experience using that. The next product I tried has become really popular and it is Native. So Native has a deodorant. Again, like the other products I'm mentioning, these are all deodorants. Keep that in mind. So Native has a deodorant product. This particular one is a coconut and vanilla. Oh my gosh, that is so unfair. Coconut and vanilla. And of course it smells just as amazing as you can imagine if you like those scents. So it smells great and it lasted longer for me. So I was happy to have a product that lasted a little bit longer. So that was great. But you guys, I developed a sensitivity to the product, so I had to discontinue using it. Bummer, right? So I was pretty disappointed, but a key thing to keep in mind as I talked about different chemicals that you may be sensitive to. So this particular product contains sodium bicarbonate. That's important because it's a much harsher chemical. And for those of us who have sensitive skin, we may respond to it depending on how it's composed in the product and to what degree. So I gave it a try and I did develop a sensitivity to it. And know that sodium bicarbonate is baking soda. So making sure that you're able to detect that if you are sensitive to it on the products, regardless of what chemical it's listed as, right? So that was my experience with these three products. I'm hoping to venture into a few more product lines that I'm excited to try out soon, and I will definitely update you on my experiences with those. So if you are a business owner and you have a product line that caters specifically to women of color, because I will say that a lot of the studies done on sweat glands have been done on men. Okay, we understand why they sweat a lot more and they're a little bit more fragrant, wink, wink, naturally. And so a lot of the studies have been done on them, but then in general, a lot of studies are done on biological men anyway. And the studies that included women primarily included Caucasian women. So if you're a scientist, please include women of color in your study, especially for things that are specific to us. If you are a business owner and you have a product line that caters to us in this particular arena, drop it in the comment section. We would love to know that you exist and what your options are. The other thing to consider is there are certain inflammatory skin conditions. One that's very common in Black and Hispanic women, again, because of our sweat gland composition, is hidradenitis suppurativa, which basically are bumps, recurrent bumps that can be pretty chronic and in some cases pretty debilitating from the scarring that oftentimes occur in the armpit area and in the genital area. For you, I would say let's have a special conversation. That's a common condition that affects women of color, but it has some special consideration that we should take into account when we're dealing with products, especially deodorants and antiperspirants, right? So we will talk about that soon. We will talk about the aluminum controversy in regards to Alzheimer's and breast cancer. So we want to know what topics are important to you. We want to know your experience with different deodorants and antiperspirants. And we know that your time is precious, so we're not going to keep you much longer, but we are happy that you stopped by and spent this time with us to discuss this very important topic on body odor. And so we are looking forward to seeing you again soon.